Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a simple idea that changed my life, and if you let it, it will change yours too. Before the year turns, you must turn yourself. You see, the calendar doesn't make you better. Flipping the page doesn't make your life new. What makes your life new is the decision to become new. And the moment you decide that, everything begins to shift. For years, I waited for luck, for timing, for opportunity, but nothing changed. Then one day, a mentor of mine said, "Jim, if you want the next year to be different, you've got to become different." And let me tell you, that sentence was like a bolt of lightning, because that's when I learned that life doesn't improve by chance, it improves by change. Not by external change, but by internal change. Now, today I want to offer you something special, a 90-day journey, not a miracle, not a magic trick, a journey. 90 days where you commit not to chasing success, but to becoming the kind of person success is attracted to. My friends, success is not something you pursue. If you chase it, it runs. But if you develop yourself, your discipline, your character, your philosophy, success finds you. It can't help it. So let me ask you a question. If you kept living exactly the way you're living now, what kind of person would you become by the end of the year? If the answer doesn't excite you, then these next 90 days will be the most important days of your life. Because this is the turning point. This is where you step out of the old patterns and into a new identity. Not by wishing, but by working. Not by hoping, but by becoming. Now, why 90 days? Because 90 days is long enough to build momentum, but short enough to stay focused. Long enough to change your direction, but short enough to avoid drifting. 90 days of intentional living can do what 9 years of accidental living never will. So if you're willing, truly willing to commit to a higher standard, to a clearer philosophy, to a stronger discipline, then the next 90 days can rewrite the script of your life. And that's what this program is about. It's about building the person inside, the disciplined one, the valuable one, the wise one, the one capable of leading their life instead of simply reacting to it. Because when you work harder on yourself than you do on your job, your life begins to change. And when your life changes, your results follow right behind. So let's begin this journey together. 90 days, one decision, a new direction. Because before the year turns, you must turn. Now, before we take even one step into this 90-day journey, we must start at the foundation. And the foundation of every great life, the root, the soil, the beginning of everything that grows is philosophy. Your personal philosophy. Because everything you do and everything you fail to do springs from how you think. Ladies and gentlemen, your philosophy is the set of ideas that guide your life. It's the lens you look through. It's the filter you interpret your world with. And here's the truth. If your philosophy is weak, your life will always be weak. If your philosophy is scattered, your results will always be scattered. But if your philosophy is strong, solid, intentional, well-built, then your life has no choice but to rise to that level. Some people think success begins with motivation. Others think it begins with opportunity. But the real foundation, Jim Rohn style, is this. Success begins with philosophy. Because philosophy shapes attitude, attitude shapes actions, and actions shape results. So if you want different results, you must begin by upgrading the philosophy that produces them. Now let me share a line I became famous for, and for good reason. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. I didn't say that because it sounded nice. I said it because it was the exact shift that changed a broke, shy farm boy into a millionaire entrepreneur. I stopped chasing success, and I started becoming the kind of person success was looking for. Most people chase. They chase money, chase approval, chase opportunity, chase recognition. But chasing is exhausting. And worse, it rarely works. Because success isn't interested in pursuit. It's interested in alignment. When who you are on the inside aligns with the results you want on the outside, success comes to you. It shows up. It knocks on your door. It follows you. Not because you're lucky, but because you're ready. So let me ask you a critical question as we begin these 90 days. Are you becoming the kind of person success would be attracted to? Are you becoming disciplined? Are you becoming valuable? Are you becoming intentional? Or are you hoping, wishing, dreaming, but not becoming? Because success doesn't respond to dreams. It responds to development. It responds to growth. It responds to the daily, quiet, unseen work of building yourself. And that begins with philosophy, your mind, your beliefs, your understanding of how life works. So as we move forward, I want you to adopt one foundational belief. If I want my life to change, I must change. If I want things to get better, I must get better. That's philosophy. And it is the starting point of every transformation. For the next 90 days, we won't be chasing anything. Not money, not motivation, not external rewards. No, those are all byproducts. Instead, we will be working on the roots. Because when the roots are deep, the tree is steady. When the philosophy is strong, the results become predictable. Ladies and gentlemen, the next 30 minutes, the next 30 days, and the next 30 years of your life will all be shaped by the philosophy you choose today. So choose wisely, choose intentionally, choose a philosophy worthy of the life you want to live. Now that we've laid the foundation, your philosophy, it's time to step into the structure that will guide these 90 days. And let me tell you, structure matters. The reason so many people drift through life is not because they lack potential, but because they lack a clear plan. They're sailing without a map. And even the strongest wind can't help a sailor who doesn't know where he's going. So what I want to give you now is a map, a simple, powerful framework that will redesign your direction over the next 3 months. Think of it as a blueprint for becoming the kind of person you've always wanted to be. We're not building the whole house in one day, but brick by brick, habit by habit, decision by decision, we're going to construct a stronger version of you. Let me break it down for you. The 90-day framework is divided into 3 distinct months, each with a clear focus and purpose. Month 1 builds momentum. Month 2 builds value. Month 3 builds identity. And when all 3 come together, they create a transformation that lasts long after the 90 days are over. Month 1 is about self-discipline and personal leadership. This is where the journey begins. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, moves without discipline. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the engine. Motivation gives you desire. Discipline gives you direction. So in the first 30 days, we focus on winning the battles you fight every day. Your mornings, your habits, your distractions, your focus. This month teaches you how to lead yourself, and believe me, that is the greatest leadership of all. Month 2 is about value, skill growth, and earning potential. This is where things start to get exciting. Because once you learn to lead yourself, you can start growing your value in the marketplace. And let me remind you, your income is a direct reflection of your value, not your intentions. You don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to that hour. So during the second 30 days, we invest in your skills, your competence, your knowledge, the things that make you more valuable to the world. Month 3 is about associations, identity, and personal philosophy. This is the month that seals the transformation. Because once you have discipline and value, you must surround yourself with the right environment. Most people never grow because they never leave the circle that's keeping them small. Month 3 is where you redefine your identity, rewrite your philosophy, and upgrade your associations. Because when your environment changes, your destiny changes. And here's the beauty of this framework. Each month builds on the last. Discipline creates the space for skill. Skill increases your value. Value reshapes your identity. Identity determines your future. This is the progression of a transformed life. Not overnight, not by accident, but by design. A deliberate, intentional journey to becoming a person of strength, wisdom, value, and influence. So over the next 90 days, I want you to think of this framework as your path. Not a prison, a path. Not something to restrict you, but something to guide you. Because every successful life is built on rhythms, routines, and principles. And if you'll follow this structure with commitment, you will experience a level of change most people only dream about. 3 months, 3 transformations, 30 days of discipline, 30 days of value, 30 days of identity. Put them together and you have a future that looks nothing like your past. Let's begin our first 30 days because this is where the real work starts. Month 1 is the foundation of everything that follows. It's the month that separates the drifters from the doers, the wishers from the workers, and those who live by emotion from those who live by principle. And the cornerstone of this month, the heartbeat, the engine, the lifeblood is self-discipline. My friends, discipline is not a punishment. It's a gift you give yourself. It's the start of freedom. It's the beginning of mastery. And if you will conquer this first month, the other 2 months will not only be easier, they will be inevitable. Because discipline is the difference between a life of regret and a life of reward. Let's start with what I call the first victory of the day, the morning. You see, the morning is not just a time of day, it's a declaration. When you wake up and you keep your promises to yourself, you begin the day with a small but powerful victory. That victory sets the tone. It tells your mind, I run my life. I set the direction. Either you run the day or the day runs you. And too many people let the day run them simply because they haven't claimed the morning. So for the next 30 days, I want you to build a morning routine that reflects leadership, not laziness. No snooze button, no drifting. No, I'll get to it later. The moment you wake up, you step into responsibility. Spend 5 quiet minutes outlining your day. Write down 3 things you must get done. Not 10, not 20, just 3. Because clarity creates power, and power creates momentum. Then we move to the evening. The world teaches you to end your day with entertainment. I want you to end your day with evaluation. Because you cannot improve what you do not examine. Take 5 minutes before bed and ask 3 simple questions. What did I learn today? What did I do well? What must I do better tomorrow? That's discipline. And discipline, my friends, compounds. Every day you reflect, you begin to sharpen your awareness. And awareness is the beginning of change. Now let's talk about something crucial. The discipline of your input. Your mind is a garden. It will grow flowers or it will grow weeds. But it will grow something. So for the next 30 days, I want you to take control of what enters your mind. Reduce the noise. Limit the negativity. Turn chaos into clarity. Replace gossip with a good book. Replace distraction with direction. Replace junk content with something that builds your character. And here's a practice that changed my life. The discipline of 1 hard thing a day. Every day, choose 1 thing you don't want to do but need to do. It might be a difficult phone call, a tough workout, a challenging project. The hardest thing is usually the most important thing. And if you do the hard things first, life gets easier. If you avoid the hard things, life gets harder. That's the irony of discipline. Pain now or pain later, but discipline gives you the privilege of choosing your pain. So month 1 is simple, not easy, but simple. Win your mornings. Evaluate your evenings. Guard your mind. Do 1 hard thing daily. These are the practices that make you the captain of your life instead of the passenger. These are the habits that turn ordinary days into extraordinary progress. These are the disciplines that prepare you for month 2 and month 3, because without discipline, skill is wasted. Without discipline, value has no direction. Without discipline, identity has no foundation. If you will give yourself fully to month 1, if you will take it seriously, intentionally, consistently, you will begin to feel something shift inside you. You will begin to trust yourself. And trust, my friends, is the birthplace of confidence. Confidence is the beginning of achievement, and achievement is the reward of discipline. So let the first 30 days be your proving ground. Not to the world, but to yourself. Because nothing meaningful happens until you can lead the person in the mirror. Now that you've spent 30 days building discipline, 30 days proving to yourself that you can lead your own life, it's time to enter month 2. And month 2, my friends, is where the world begins to respond. Month 1 is internal. Month 2 is external. Month 1 shapes character. Month 2 shapes competence. Month 1 strengthens your backbone. Month 2 strengthens your value. Because let me remind you of one of the most important principles of your economic life. You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. The marketplace is not emotional. It's not personal. It doesn't respond to your wishes, your hopes, or your needs. It responds to one thing: value. And value comes from skill, knowledge, insight, performance, and contribution. So if you want your income to grow, don't ask for a raise. Raise your value. That's how the wealthy think. That's how the successful operate. They don't wait for the marketplace to change. They change themselves, so the marketplace must respond. So this second month is about elevating your value. And that begins with what I call the daily skill block. Every day for the next 30 days, I want you to dedicate 60 intentional minutes to improving a skill that increases your earning potential. 1 hour a day, 7 hours a week, 28 hours a month. My mentor once told me, Jim, if you dedicate an hour a day to any skill, in 5 years you can be one of the best in your field. And he was right. Maybe the skill is communication because influence is one of the highest forms of value. Maybe it's sales because salespeople drive the world forward. Maybe it's leadership because organizations rise and fall on leadership. Maybe it's writing, design, coding, teaching, speaking, analyzing, negotiating, managing. It doesn't matter what the skill is. What matters is that it increases your value. So for month 2, choose one skill. Not 5, not 10, 1. And every day, improve it. Read about it, practice it, study it, apply it. Because when you improve your skill, you improve your value. And when you improve your value, your income must follow. This is the law of the marketplace. This is wealth by design, not by accident. Now let's talk about something else. The marketplace principle. The marketplace is fair because it is indifferent. It doesn't pay you for time. It pays for value. It doesn't pay you for effort. It pays for results. It doesn't pay you for trying. It pays for delivering. And when you deliver more value, you become more valuable. And when you become more valuable, you attract more opportunity. So for the next 30 days, I want you to shift your mindset from employee thinking, value thinking, hours thinking, contribution thinking, needs thinking, skill thinking. Ask yourself every week, where did I become more valuable this week? What skill improved even by 1%? What did I add to myself that makes me worth more to the world? This is how careers expand. This is how promotions happen. This is how entrepreneurs grow. Not by waiting, by building. And I want you to develop what I call the extra mile habit. The extra mile is the most profitable real estate in the world because it's almost never crowded. Few people go there. Few people do more than they're paid to do. But here's the magic. When you do more than you're paid for, soon you'll be paid for more than you do. That's the marketplace rewarding value. Show up early. Stay a little later when necessary. Solve problems nobody else wants to solve. Become a source of solutions, not complications. Become the person people depend on, not the person they tolerate. Become valuable because the world pays for value, always has, always will. So month 2 is about economic transformation through personal development. Discipline gives you the engine. Skill gives you the horsepower. Value gives you the income. And when you put all three together, discipline, skill, value, you become unstoppable. Because the world cannot ignore a person who becomes valuable, consistent, capable, and committed to excellence. This month is where you stop wishing for opportunity and start preparing for it. Because when preparation meets opportunity, we call that success. Now, by the time you arrive at month 3, something remarkable has already begun inside you. You've built discipline. You've increased your value. You've invested in your skills. Your confidence is rising. Your clarity is sharpened. And your direction is becoming unmistakably clear. But now we enter the most powerful month of all, the month that determines whether your transformation lasts or fades. Month 3 is where we revisit the core of your identity and the forces that shape it. Because you can improve your habits, your skills, and your schedule, but if you do not upgrade your environment, your identity, and your philosophy, the old patterns will eventually pull you back. Ladies and gentlemen, your life is shaped by 3 invisible hands: your associations, your identity, and your philosophy. Let's begin with associations. One of the most important philosophies I ever taught was this: you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Not the 5 smartest, not the 5 richest, the 5 closest. Why? Because people rub off on you. Their attitude rubs off. Their habits rub off. Their expectations rub off. Their energy, their standards, their excuses, they all rub off. If you spend your time with people who complain, you become a complainer. If you spend your time with people who focus on possibilities, you begin to see opportunities everywhere. If you spend your time with people who expect excellence, you begin to expect more from yourself. So for the next 30 days, I want you to conduct what I call an association audit. Look at the people around you and ask yourself 3 questions. Who lifts me? Who drains me? Who keeps me stuck where I am? Don't judge them, just identify them. Because awareness is the beginning of choice. And month 3 is about choosing the environment that supports your highest potential. Next, let's talk about identity. The most powerful force in the human mind is the need to stay consistent with how you see yourself. If you see yourself as undisciplined, you will sabotage your discipline. If you see yourself as average, you will resist excellence. If you see yourself as weak, you will avoid challenge. Your identity pulls the strings behind every habit and every decision. So this month, we rewrite that identity. Not with wishful thinking, but with deliberate statements of who you are becoming. Statements like, I am the kind of person who keeps promises to myself. I am the kind of person who grows daily. I am the kind of person who attracts opportunity through discipline and value. Identity is not found, it is built. And month 3 is where you build it. Finally, we arrive at the heart of your transformation, your personal philosophy. Your philosophy is the operating system of your life. It determines how you interpret problems, how you approach opportunity, how you respond to pressure, and how you design your future. Your philosophy is the quiet voice inside that says, this is who I am, and this is how I live. And here's the truth. Most people live with a philosophy they never consciously chose. They inherited it from family, from culture, from television, from friends, from habits. Month 3 is where you choose your philosophy on purpose. I want you to write 5 statements, your guiding principles, your rules for life. 1 for your work, 1 for your money, 1 for your relationships, 1 for your health, 1 for your purpose. These statements will become your compass when life gets cloudy, your anchor when life gets shaky, your direction when life feels uncertain. Because success is not just built on discipline and skill. It is built on a philosophy that keeps you moving in the right direction long after motivation fades. So month 3 is the month of alignment. Aligning your circle with your future. Aligning your identity with your goals. Aligning your philosophy with the person you want to become. When your associations lift you, your identity strengthens you, and your philosophy guides you, your destiny becomes predictable. Not lucky, not accidental, predictable. This month marks the moment you stop trying to change small parts of your life and start transforming the whole direction of your life. Now that you understand the 3 months, let's talk about the rhythm that ties all 90 days together. Because remember, transformation doesn't come from what you do once in a while. It comes from what you do every week, consistently, steadily, deliberately. Success has a rhythm. Growth has a rhythm. And if you follow that rhythm long enough, your life begins to take on a new shape. So let me show you what I call the weekly success structure, your 7-day rhythm of discipline, value, and reflection. Think of each week as a miniature version of your entire transformation. 7 days where you plant seeds, pull weeds, evaluate growth, and reset your direction. In 90 days, you'll do this 12 times, and 12 cycles of growth can change the entire trajectory of your life. Let's begin with the first part of the rhythm. The weekly review. Every 7 days, you sit down with yourself, not with guilt, not with shame, but with honesty. And you ask 3 important questions. What did I do well this week? Where did I slip? What did I learn? My friends, this single weekly habit is worth gold, because the person who reviews their life improves their life. Life gets better when you get better, and you get better when you learn from the last 7 days. Don't bury your mistakes in denial. Look at them with awareness. Mistakes are simply lessons waiting to be claimed. But only the reflective person receives the wisdom. Next in your rhythm is what I call the weekly challenge. Each week, choose 1 thing that stretches you, not 10 things. 1. Maybe it's making a difficult phone call. Maybe it's going to the gym 3 times. Maybe it's eliminating 1 bad habit. Maybe it's waking up earlier. Maybe it's spending 1 hour in silence and thinking. The challenge must feel uncomfortable, because growth never comes from comfort. It comes from stretching. Now let's talk about the weekly upgrade. Every week, upgrade something small in your life. 1 habit, 1 routine, 1 environment, 1 decision. Clear 1 drawer, remove 1 toxic input. Add 1 small improvement. Just 1. Because 1 improvement a week multiplied by 12 weeks becomes 12 meaningful upgrades, and 12 upgrades can change a lifestyle. Then we have the weekly philosophy expansion. You see, philosophy doesn't grow by accident. It grows by attention. So once a week, I want you to add 1 sentence to your personal philosophy. 1 line that reflects what you're learning. 1 line that guides your thinking. 1 line that shapes your character. Over time, these lines become your compass. These lines become the rules by which you live. These lines become the standards you no longer compromise. The next part of your weekly rhythm is what I call the input reset. Every week, evaluate what's entering your mind. What are you reading? What are you watching? Who are you listening to? What conversations are shaping your thinking? You are the sum of your inputs. So once a week, remove something weak and add something strong. Remove something shallow and add something wise. Remove something draining and add something inspiring. Inputs determine mindset. Mindset determines action. Action determines destiny. And finally, we end the weekly rhythm with the direction reset. You ask yourself 1 simple but profound question. Am I still becoming the person I committed to becoming? If the answer is yes, reinforce the behaviors that are working. If the answer is no, correct the direction immediately. Don't wait for things to get worse. Don't wait for the next month. Don't wait for the next crisis. Small corrections made weekly keep you on the path to your greatest potential. This weekly rhythm reviewing, challenging, upgrading, expanding, resetting turns ordinary weeks into extraordinary progress. And progress, my friends, compounds. 1 week of growth feels good. 12 weeks of growth feels transformational. 90 days of growth feels like a new life. Remember, consistency is more powerful than intensity. Intensity impresses people. Consistency transforms people. So follow the rhythm. Follow the structure. Follow the weekly system that keeps your life on track. This is how you turn days into weeks, weeks into months, and months into a life you're proud of. Now let's talk about what truly matters. What happens after the 90 days? Because the goal of this journey is not just to complete a program. It's not simply to check a box or say, I finished. No, the real purpose of these 90 days is transformation. A shift so deep, so internal, so fundamental that you cannot go back to the old way of living even if you tried. So what happens when you give yourself 90 days of discipline, value building, and identity renewal? Let me tell you, something remarkable begins to take shape. First, your identity changes. During these 90 days, you start to see yourself differently. You begin to view yourself as someone who follows through, someone who keeps promises, someone who does hard things, someone worthy of success, someone capable of more than they once believed. And when identity changes, behavior follows automatically. You no longer have to force yourself to act like a disciplined person. You are one. You no longer have to pretend to be valuable. You've become valuable. That's the power of a new identity. It pulls you toward the future you once had to push yourself toward. Next, your habits become automatic. In the beginning, discipline feels heavy. Waking up early feels uncomfortable. Reading daily feels like effort. Reflection feels unnatural. Skill building feels slow. But after 90 days, these things begin to feel normal. They become part of your rhythm, part of your lifestyle. And here's a principle that will serve you well. When the right habits become automatic, success becomes predictable. Then something else begins to happen. Your environment evolves. People around you notice your consistency. They see your improved standards. They observe your focus, your clarity, your momentum. And the wrong people begin to drift away while the right people begin to move closer. Why? Because success has its own gravity. Excellence attracts excellence. When you grow, your circle adjusts, sometimes willingly, sometimes reluctantly, but always inevitably. Now, let's talk about something extraordinary: opportunity. Opportunity begins to appear where it didn't exist before. Or perhaps it was always there, but now you have the eyes to see it. Why? Because when you become more valuable, the world responds. When you become wiser, the world opens. When you become disciplined, the world trusts you with more responsibility. You start receiving invitations you once were never considered for. You solve problems you once felt intimidated by. You generate ideas that once felt out of reach. This is not luck. This is not chance. This is the law of cause and effect. You changed, you grew, you elevated, and the world had no choice but to mirror that elevation. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, your confidence returns. Not the loud, noisy kind of confidence. Not arrogance, but the quiet, steady confidence that comes from proof. Proof that you can discipline yourself. Proof that you can grow in value. Proof that you can direct your life. Proof that you can break old patterns. Proof that you are not stuck, you are not fixed, you are not limited. Confidence is not built by words. It's built by evidence. 90 days of evidence will change the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you think, the way you dream. This is the transformation. Not a new life handed to you, but a new life built by you. Not a change in circumstances, but a change in character. Not a temporary motivation, but a permanent elevation. And once you've experienced this shift, once you've become disciplined, valuable, intentional, and aligned, something beautiful happens. Your future becomes bigger than your past. You stop living from memory. You start living from vision. You stop repeating old cycles. You start creating new chapters. You stop waiting for life to change. You start changing life. My friends, 90 days cannot solve every problem, but 90 days can transform the person facing those problems. And once the person changes, the circumstances eventually follow. That is the essence of the 90-day transformation. And that is the promise of self-leadership. Well, my friends, we've reached the final part of this journey, the closing message. And I want to leave you with something powerful, something simple, something true, not a slogan, not a motivational slogan that fades when the moment fades. No, something that anchors itself deep inside and stays with you long after this talk is over. Here it is. Before 2026 arrives, you must arrive, not physically, not casually, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in your habits, your standards, your disciplines, your philosophy. You must arrive at a place where the world no longer sets your direction, you do. Where life no longer tosses you around, you steer. Where your future is no longer a wish, it's a plan. And not just a plan, a commitment. You see, the year won't change for you. The economy won't change for you. Your environment won't magically change for you. But you can change for you. And that, my friends, is the great miracle of personal development. You don't need everything else to change if you are willing to change yourself. If you want a better year, become a better you. If you want more opportunity, become more valuable. If you want more respect, improve your character. If you want more income, Improve your skills. If you want a different life, develop a different philosophy. That's the formula. Simple, honest, uncompromising. So as we close this 90-day journey, let me remind you of the truths that will shape everything that comes next. Number one, you cannot change your life until you change yourself. Not your circumstances, not your job, yourself. Number two, you cannot change yourself until you change your habits. Your habits are the architects of your destiny. They are the builders of your future. Number three, you cannot change your habits until you truly decide that enough is enough. Decision is the doorway to transformation. Once you decide, the rest becomes discipline. And let me tell you something about discipline. It is not the enemy. It is the ally. It does not restrict your freedom. It creates your freedom. It is the price you pay today for the rewards you enjoy tomorrow. So here's your invitation, your challenge, your call to action. Lead yourself for the next 90 days. Lead yourself in your mornings. Lead yourself in your thoughts. Lead yourself in your skill. Lead yourself in your associations. Lead yourself in your philosophy. Because if you lead yourself, success will always follow. It has to. It's a law of life. It cannot ignore discipline. It cannot ignore consistency. It cannot ignore a person who becomes valuable, intentional, and aligned. You don't have to wait for luck. You don't have to wait for perfect timing. You don't have to wait for permission. Your future does not need approval from your past. So start now. Start today. Start with what you have. Start with who you are. And build brick by brick, day by day, decision by decision, the future that belongs to the best version of you. Ladies and gentlemen, before 2026 arrives, arrive as the person you were meant to be. Because once you become that person, success can't help but follow you. Thank you.